Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. So I have been putting a spotlight on what BlackRock has been putting out for a while now. It really kind of started back in 2022 when we, first heard the discussions around tokenization becoming a big narrative. Leading into 2023, it obviously became a huge deal. And then it just continued to grow enormously over that 24 roughly month time frame from 2023 all the way into now. And one thing that I've always said about BlackRock is that they know what they're doing. Okay, they know how to sell one narrative while completely covering up the big thing to focus on. Like, for an example, right now we always hear from BlackRock talking about Bitcoin this, Bitcoin that, but then we also see this from BlackRock CEO Larry Fink saying every stock, every bond, and every fund, every asset can be tokenized. Now, when we think about tokenization, we don't think about Bitcoin. We don't think about Bitcoin because Bitcoin cannot handle that scale. In fact, and this might hurt a few feelings out there, Bitcoin sucks for financial transactions, for any transactable use case, especially for tokenization. It's the number one reason why any Bitcoin maxi out there will say that the only great use case for Bitcoin is being a store of value. Because outside of that, Bitcoin cannot scale. And to transact on it, it's extremely inefficient. But BlackRock won't tell us the truth. They won't tell us, hey, you can't tokenize on Bitcoin. But they will continue to push the Bitcoin narrative. But on top of this is actually from their recent report, and this is the chairman's letter to investors for 2025. The democratization of investing, expanding prosperity in more places for more people. Now, again, this is a letter to investors to learn more about what's happening. Now, the first major thing is obviously, yes, the tokenization. Nate Garachi actually put out a post regarding this. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, one day I expect tokenized funds will become a familiar, will become as familiar to investors as ETFs. They're all in. Hope you've been paying attention. Now, this is the two posts. So number one, we have what exactly is tokenization. It's turning real world assets, stocks, bonds, real estate into digital tokens tradable online. Each token certifies that your ownership of a specific asset, much like a digital deed. Unlike traditional paper certificates, these tokens live securely on a blockchain, enabling instant buying, selling, and transferring without cumbersome paperwork or waiting periods. Now, again, they're talking about instant transactions, but we know that that's not Bitcoin. Also over here, we have every stock, every bond, every fund, every asset can be tokenized. If they are, it will be, revolutionizing investing essentially. Markets wouldn't need to close. Transactions that currently take days would clear in seconds, and billions of dollars currently immobilized by settlement delays could be reinvested immediately back into the economy, generating more growth. So again, this is a big statement from BlackRock. And when we think about these statements, do we immediately think Bitcoin? That's the question. Now, if I was a Bitcoin maxi, I would say, yeah, this is great for Bitcoin. This has Bitcoin's name written all over it, but I would be lying. I would not only be lying to the public, I would also be lying to myself. See, that's the thing. It's very easy to be biased in this market. Like, for an example, I could say, all right, well, look at BlackRock said that every stock, every bond, every fund, every asset can be tokenized. That means that it's all going to be tokenized on the XRP ledger. But then again, I would also be lying to you because we all know that it's not just about the XRP ledger. This is becoming a multi-chain world where the XRP ledger, Hedera, Algorand, Stellar, guys, these networks, all of these great utility-based networks are going to see so much growth from tokenization. But it's not just about one player. And we have to look beyond Bitcoin. We have to look beyond even Ethereum. because both of them are inefficient for transactional use cases. Download MetaMask, tap into Uniswap for an example. Buy and sell things. I guarantee you that you will hate it because it's extremely inefficient to transact on Ethereum. And the same could be said about Bitcoin. But if we go over here, big shout out to Panos Mek, the co-founder of Anodos Finance. We have this letter by Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, is one of the most bullish things you will read about crypto, and especially for XRP. Transactions that currently take days would clear in seconds, and billions of dollars currently immobilized by settlement delays could be reinvested immediately back into the economy, generating more growth. Does this remind you of something? It's what Ripple has been pushing for about a decade, and the XRP ledger is the ideal, most powerful technology that can enable that. There is zero doubt that the future of finance is on chain. Every single financial asset will eventually be tokenized. And yes, this is why we look at what's going on around the tokenization revolution. I don't buy into nonsense. I'm not here for the Bitcoin hype machine. I am here for what's actually going on and what technology will completely revolutionize financial markets as we know it. It's not Bitcoin. But also remember, the future is on chain. And Ripple recently put out a post on the 10th highlighting on-chain finances here, where they also highlighted tokenized RWAs to stablecoins. Institutions are embracing crypto. Now, we're going to come back to this post because there is something very interesting about this, where we could also make the argument that, this is extremely bullish for XRP and the XRPL, and it's actually happening right now. But let's talk about the Bitcoin maxis. Let's talk about this post here from Bitcoin Magazine, where they're spotlighting what BlackRock CEO Larry Fink also put in this PDF file, essentially. He's warning that the dollar is at risk of losing world reserve currency status to Bitcoin. Now, within the actual document, we actually have this being spotlighted. Can Bitcoin eat away at the US dollar's reserve status? The US has benefited from the dollar serving as the world's reserve currency for decades, but that's not guaranteed to last forever. The national debt has grown at 3 times the pace of GDP since Times Square debt clock started ticking in 1989. This year, interest payments will surpass $952 billion, exceeding defense spending. By 2030, mandatory government spending and debt service will consume all federal revenue, creating a permanent deficit. If the US doesn't get its debt under control, if deficits keep ballooning, America risks losing that position to digital assets like Bitcoin. Now, what's crazy about this is, again, BlackRock is not telling us the truth. And what do I mean? Well, they're highlighting how bullish this is for Bitcoin. But what are they missing? Stablecoins. They're missing stablecoins. We know that the US Treasury Secretary DCENT told us we will maintain the dollar status as the dominant reserve currency and will use stablecoins to support this effort. Stablecoins are a big driver here. I think everyone needs to look past, again, Bitcoin and look at what's really going on within this space. We know that DLT, blockchain, will be the key driver around solving a lot of these issues, including, of course, even debt. But the main thing here is the reserve currency status. And when we think about solving that, we look at stablecoins. We look at what Ripple is doing with RLUSD. We look at these big players because at the end of the day, we know that stablecoins are the big show. It's not about Bitcoin. Like, if we're thinking about Bitcoin being the main thing that America is, losing the reserve currency status to, like, all right, if Bitcoin is going to be that main driver, what does that mean for the rest of the crypto market? Like when we look at the top 5 crypto projects in the space, like again, what do they look like in a world where Bitcoin is the reserve currency? I'm still looking at the tokenization side because it's very easy to say, all right, well, yeah, Bitcoin's going to be that main driver because, Bitcoin could become the reserve currency, which is exactly what these Bitcoin maxis are, now telling us because of what Larry Fink said. Again, not to even mention the fact that BlackRock is benefiting greatly off of that hype because of the ETFs. But BlackRock is also not telling us what's really going on here. We also have, to be clear, I'm obviously not anti-digital assets, far from it. See the next section. But two things can be true at the same time. Decentralized finance is an extraordinary innovation. It makes markets faster, cheaper, and more transparent. Yet that same innovation could undermine America's economic advantage if investors begin seeing Bitcoin as a safer bet than the dollar. Now, again, this is no different than, investors looking into the stock market, for an example, instead of, just holding a ton of dollars. Anyone that's smart would be using their dollars to invest in specific things. It could either be, real estate, it could be stocks, it could be bonds, it could be treasuries. It does not matter, right? We just know that holding dollars really is not helping anyone. If you're just hodling dollars, you're still losing a percentage on your money year over year because of inflation. So it's not just about Bitcoin. It's about the fact that the dollar has been dying for a very long time now. And the purchasing power of the dollar continues to get eroded. So anyone that's just blindly holding on to their dollars at this point is either blind, they're not seeing what's actually happening, and they're just oblivious to it. I would not be investing into the dollar. I would not be just holding dollars. But they're saying that Bitcoin could become that safe bet rather than just holding on to dollars during times of economic stress, aka we go back to COVID, for an example, where the dollar completely skyrocketed because everyone was holding up, they were holding on to their dollars, waiting for the next big update on what was happening during that time. But we ended up seeing, stocks and even crypto going crazy because, after a little bit of time, people started to put their dollars back to work. But at the end of the day, when we think about what's going on here, I'm mainly looking at things outside of Bitcoin because we continue to get force-fed the Bitcoin hype machine, but we know that there's other things ongoing, like stablecoins. We also know that the IMF and I believe the World Economic Forum also put out an update regarding this, and they actually said that this new technology, including, of course, even Bitcoin, could actually support the dollar as a reserve currency because most trading happening around Bitcoin and around digital assets and around the crypto market is done utilizing US dollar denominated stablecoins. So it's very bullish for the US dollar anyways. So I do question why this Bitcoin section was actually included at all. Maybe it was just to kind of spotlight the debt issue that we do have. But let's go back to what Ripple did say, including, of course, finance being on chain with tokenized RWAs, because what's very bullish about this is the fact that Jasmine Cooper, essentially, right, head of product at Ripple X, put a highlight on the types of institutions that are building on the XRP ledger right now. Big shout out to Thinking Crypto One for this, because again, if we're thinking about tokenization, if we're thinking about the future of finance, it's going to be accelerated by these big institutional players. And we now know that the XRP ledger with Ripple are two prime players here that are already being adopted and utilized by these big institutions. Check it out.
With regards to institutions that are using the XRP ledger, what are the types? Are banks, hedge funds? What are they?
There's a variety ranging from, banks, SocGen, for example, that are interested in issuing stablecoins on the XRP ledger, to asset managers that are participating with some of the tokenization platforms. There's been Aberdeen has issued certain money market funds through Archax, which is a tokenization provider on the XRP ledger. So I think there's a wide range from banks to asset managers that are starting to discover the value of tokenization and of XRPL in particular. There's also crypto native institutions which are knee deep in crypto, and they have been for several years. So some of the big money managers in the space. It's nice with the Ripple organization. We have a number of different touch points with institutions. So take custody, for example. They'll sit down with large banks that are interested in tokenization. They know a lot about it, but they haven't done it firsthand and are really looking for a guiding hand to walk them through their tokenization journey. And that's something that our custody team has been able to really lead the charge with.
So again, they're completely locked in with these big institutions already around the XRP ledger. And it's just, again, it's so crazy to me that we continue to see Bitcoin spotlighted and talked about when we are hearing from the big players about tokenization being the big thing. This is why we look at the XRP ledger. This is why we look at Hedera. This is why we look at Stellar. I mean, at the end of the day, tokenization is going to happen at scale. I think that this is where we start to see a lot of these networks surpassing Bitcoin in terms of value. And I just think that right now, as we continue to see the hype around Bitcoin showing up from these big players, I can't help but to say it's a distraction away from what really matters. And I think that Franklin Templeton, put a great, spotlight on this previously as well, saying that Bitcoin is the greatest distraction away from the biggest revolution that's happening right under our noses, which is, tokenization. And it's happening on these big superior networks like the XRP Ledger, Hedera, Algorand, etc. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because of more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord on the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.